Is there a more polarizing player in the modern NBA than Kyrie Irving? Is there a more controversial player? That player, capable of dividing the barber shop into two different sides when you mention it. Some people say he's the most talented player in NBA history, while others say he's a spoiled child that only causes problems to the franchises that trade for him. But who is right in reality? The man was drafted first overall in the 2011 draft after playing 11 games in college. Then, he became the idol of all basketball fans when he starred in one of the most viral advertising spots in history, which ended up giving him a role to star in his own movie. But since he decided to end his time with the Cavs, Kyrie has gone from a hero to a villain. Now, does Irving really deserve this status? Or has the media narrative projected an unrealistic and egomaniacal image of one of the most iconic guards in league history? Well, let's talk about it. His story changed completely in 2017. Irving, Bron, and the Cavs had just lost against the Golden State Warriors in the finals. During the offseason, the Cavs guard was obsessed with having his own team. He was tired of being in LeBron James's shadow and wanted a new challenge. So he asked for the trade, something he later explained on television in an interview with Stephen A. Smith, in which he explains that he was set up. Irving had no resentment towards Bron, but he didn't even speak to the Cavs legend before making a decision. Did he have to talk to Bron? Of course not. Everyone's an adult who makes their own decisions. Was it the best possible way to do it? Well, probably not. But the Cleveland Cavaliers sent him to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Isaiah Thomas. Kyrie finally found what would be his home, right?
But I shared it with some of my teammates as well as the organization and everyone else in Boston. You guys will have me back. I plan on re-signing here next year.
Boom!
So I appreciate it.
It was a disaster. Irving eventually recognized how his knee problems affected him more than they should have. In addition, the Celtics also suffered the terrible injury to Gordon Hayward on opening night. His first season in Boston ended in a loss against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the conference finals, where Kyrie couldn't even play in the playoffs. And the second season ended with a second-round exit in 5 games against the Milwaukee Bucks. This time he did play, but he had failed in his project of being the leader of a team that also had a very stacked roster. Maybe he was not mature enough to assume that responsibility yet, but it was obvious that his leadership ability and his bond with his teammates was not present in the moments of truth. When he signed for the Nets, leaving nothing in return, Kyrie became hated by all Celtics fans. A hatred that you can still notice today by tuning into any game in which he visits the Garden. But hey, at least it was only one franchise that had these feelings towards Irving. The rest of the GMs and fans wanted a player of his talent on their roster. A player who had already proven what it was like to be an NBA champion. Sean Marks' Brooklyn Nets were the ones who hit the jackpot. But we all know what happened in Brooklyn, right? It wasn't just the superstar trio that was unable to stay healthy, but Kyrie also suffered different controversies that kept him away from the court for a long time. The COVID pandemic brought many changes. One of them was that not only the players, but that any worker in New York State had to be vaccinated to keep their job. It was clear that Irving didn't need the money. He'd already amassed tens of millions of dollars during his career. But he didn't believe in mandatory vaccination. He didn't believe that a country like the United States could force him to make such a drastic decision about his health. His crusade against Sean Marks and Mayor Eric Adams had begun.
Kyrie, why don't play like this when you were on the Nets? Why, Kai?
Thank Mayor Adams for that, bro.
Most people, including Brooklyn fans, were all over him. How can you be so selfish as to not want to get vaccinated? Don't you realize that this decreases our chances of winning? Well, the reality is that Irving didn't decide to get vaccinated not just for personal reasons. He was standing up for all those workers who didn't want to get vaccinated either and were forced to do so. More than a selfish act, from a certain point of view and after some time, to me it seems like a brave act. But the drama had not yet come to an end. Kyrie posted a link to a certain Amazon documentary that got him in trouble. He wanted to defend his freedom of expression, and he wanted to have the power to post whatever he wanted on his personal social networks. But Adam Silver was not amused. Neither was Marks. And Kyrie was given the requirements he had to meet to play again. Dystopian requests that did nothing but anger the guard. His time in Brooklyn ended as it began, with everyone wondering how good the Nets superstar trio would be or would have been. When no one trusted him, there was an owner who did. Irving was considered a cancer in the locker room. His attitude was considered childish. It seemed that in some ways basketball was just a hobby instead of his job. Not only did some franchises consider Irving a problem rather than a solution, but his value as a basketball player for some reason had declined. I mean, Irving hasn't reached the conference finals since 2017. What reason would a team have to bet on him and risk losing the balance of their locker room? What team owner would put millions at stake just to bring in a legendary player who seemed to have passed his prime? Well, the answer is simple. One of the best investors in all of America. The Shark himself, Mark Cuban, wanted Irving next to Luka. He knew that with Brunson, Doncic had displayed his full potential, and he regretted not paying the guard, who ended up with the New York Knicks, the money he deserved. So he gambled on that guard that the entire media hated, for that player that even some fans had stopped believing in. Now, Kyrie's change of attitude in just 1 year has been completely incredible. Everyone assumed that the Mavs had paid for a few months' rent. When his expiring contract ended, everyone thought Irving was going to sign with LeBron James's Los Angeles Lakers. After all, Kyrie felt indebted to him, having been the cause of the breakup of an unrepeatable team. But no. The first sign of Irving's change of heart came in the summer. He signed the contract that would have him playing in Dallas for the next few seasons. For the first time, Irving felt at ease. He felt like he could be himself. Cuban had offered him a freedom both on and off the court that Kyrie had always wanted. Even after last season's disaster, in which the Mavs failed to even qualify for the play-in, Irving committed to the franchise that had bet on him. His chemistry with Luka was unbeatable, and both knew that if Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison were able to find a good supporting cast for them, the sky was the limit. Fast forward 12 months, and the Dallas Mavericks of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, at the time of this recording, are 4 wins away from one of the most difficult championships in recent league history. Irving seems much more focused and much more of a leader. Even if his shots don't go in, he's able to stay connected to the game, bringing his playmaking, bringing his threat, or just giving Luka a little rest so he can play off the ball. His value for the Dallas Mavericks is just incredible. There have been many factors that have come together, but the most important one is maturity. Kyrie was only 25 years old when he wanted to become the alpha. He was only 25 when he set his sights on the Boston Celtics. His time with LeBron had been so magical that the guard thought he had learned how to win. He hoped to find that success he hadn't found in his time with the Cavs prior to King's arrival. But he wasn't fully aware that he was playing alongside one of the GOATs, a player who makes leading a team look easy. Kyrie didn't realize that part of his success in Cleveland was based on LeBron James getting the most attention of any player in the league. That is a lesson that only time has allowed him to learn. Winning in the NBA is very complicated when you're surrounded by mortals. Without a generational player on the side to make things easier for you, the odds of winning the ring are slim to none. In the best basketball league in the world, there is one franchise that wins and 29 that lose. Irving was not only blessed by God with an enormous talent to play basketball. Perhaps, as your barber says, he's the best technically gifted player to ever step on an NBA court. His bag is so deep that he's able to find the solution to any situation in a matter of seconds. His style and elegance are emulated by all young players who one day aspire to make it in the league. But beyond that, for Kyrie, it's more than just basketball. You may not like his approach to certain social issues, but he's a man who stands up to his ideals. The media has sold us a selfish version of a player because of his off-court decisions. Yet he is capable of sacrificing his money and his legacy to stand up for those who think like him. But deep down, no one has tried to understand his point of view. Somehow, Kyrie has become the most misunderstood superstar in NBA history.